What's up, guys? We are so glad that you are here. We are here. It's Sunday night at 7 o'clock. We moved an hour back so you guys could enjoy the beautiful weather. And it has been such a great weekend. Tell us what you've been doing this weekend right in the comment sections. Just so you know, we are at about 8 seconds behind, so I can read a lot of these comments almost in real time. Almost in real time. I mean, we are just on the edge. Just on the edge. Ethan Kaiser said, howdy. He said, howdy. 8 seconds from now, he'll see it. But it's cool. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome. Hey, we have the one and only Tanner Wines here. He's going to lead us in some worship songs here in a bit. But man, how are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is a whole lot of fun. It's different. It's very different, but this is fun.
Just a little bit, because normally they don't allow youth in the sanctuary.
You know, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. They frown upon it. But here we are. We're testing all the live stuff. It's great. So Kevin Fogarty said, prove it. Kevin, I miss you. But Tanner's here. And you're not. But I'm thankful. I'm so thankful. Well, yes. Hey. Yeah. Yo, Tanner. Anthony Sennett said, yo, Tanner.
Anthony.
Yo, Anthony. You know Anthony. Anthony's cool. All right. Cool. We're going to go to worship now because that's what we need to do, because I don't really have a whole lot more to say. And this is just fun now. So I'm going to turn it over to you. What are you playing for us tonight?
That was the one question I did not think you were going to ask me right there.
Sweet. What question did you think I was going to ask you?
I honestly, I didn't know. Something about a dog is kind of what I was thinking.
Okay. Do you have a dog?
I do. We have 2 dogs.
Oh, okay. Perfect. What are you playing for us tonight?
Let's all stand. We're going to sing Sick of Victory.
Yeah, boy.
Let's sing The Weapon. The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. My God will never fail. Sing that again. Oh, my God will never fail. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Sing about the power in the mighty name. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. In every war he wages, he will win. And I'm not backing down from any giants, 'cause I know how this story ends. Yes, I know how this story ends. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Sing together. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Yeah, that's our truth. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. Let's sing that again. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see a victory. I'm gonna see a victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Sing together, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. He turns it for good. Sing that truth. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. He turns it for good. Whatever we're going through, he turns it. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good. He turns it for good.
Thank you so much. Love it. Love it, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you taking the time to come and lead us tonight, man. So good. So good, man. Missed having you around. Missed having you around. So glad you're here. Glad you're here. Well, hey, guys. We are in our 5th week of our Big Butts of the Bible. Wow. Our horn is dead. What was that? That was beautiful. Beautifully troubling is what that was. Are we at Happy Joe's? Like, that's what Happy Joe's, when I was growing up, that's what Happy Joe's would always bring out. They'd always bring out that horn. Can you play that one more time, that horn? Yeah, perfect. Oh, fell in the pit. Zach Moberg, I love that. Representing Mouse Rat tonight. You're welcome. You're welcome. But hey, we are in our last series of the Big Butts of the Bible. This will be my kind of last message of giving it during this series, as Kevin will close here in a couple weeks. But I wanted to talk tonight about one of my favorite big butts of the Bible, and that's Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. This is one of my favorite sections of Scripture because it truly shows that God is in control even in the midst of just chaos that we may go through on a day-to-day basis. That the chaos that we may go through, God is still in control. He sees what's going on, and He is actively working in all of us. Like, He's actively working. I believe this passage is very applicable to us today. And we've had, and we've all had something bad or unfair happen to us. We've all been there. Something that makes us question the judgment of others, or it makes us wonder why on earth bad things happen. It makes us hurt. We get down. We get angry. We get upset, depressed, disheartened. We all know what it's like to have your hopes and your dreams absolutely crushed. Maybe it's not your dreams. I mean, maybe I'm being a little dramatic, right? Maybe a little too dramatic there, but we know what disappointment feels like. Being set up for something and all of a sudden having it all crash down around us. And the story of Joseph is one where he felt disappointment, he felt loneliness, he was treated unfairly, yet in the end, everything worked out exactly how it was supposed to. All part of God's plan. God's bigger plan, not just Joseph's small plan. This is the story of Joseph and his coat of many colors. Now, many of you know Joseph. He's the son of Jacob, whose name was Israel. And Jacob was the son of Isaac. And Jacob was part of this promise from God, this big, huge promise from God that we read about in Genesis 12. When God was talking to Abraham, and he said this. He says, I will make of you a great nation, And I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless you, or I will bless those who bless you. And him who dishonors you I will curse, and all the families of the earth shall be blessed. You see, this promise carried all the way over to Jacob here. And Jacob had 12 sons, and he had one daughter, but 12 sons and one daughter. And now again, this culture, think about this, okay? If you were the firstborn, if you weren't the firstborn, tough Charlie, right? And Joseph found himself being the 11th born. That's a long ways down from number 1, right? But Joseph's father greatly loved him. Joseph was the golden child, if you will. Genesis 37, 3 through 4, it says this. Now Israel, that's Jacob, loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he was the son of his old age. So nothing that Joseph did, but because he was born he was born to his mom and dad at an old age, they were old, he was their favorite. And he made him, Jacob made him a robe of many colors. But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peacefully to him. Now, I can relate to the other brothers, as I have a brother, Matthew, and he is my parents' favorite, very clearly. I'm kind of kidding. They tell me that they don't have favorites. We know that's a lie. Okay, I know they're watching, or they might be watching. They're probably not watching. They're probably talking to Matthew because he's their favorite. But I just want to say that Jacob, first off, should not have had a favorite, okay? So Jacob is having all these sons, right? He should not have had a favorite, okay? Jacob was not being a good father here. Okay, it's very clear. Jacob was not being a good father here. I think it's really important to note that Isaac also had a absolute favorite too, right? And it wasn't Jacob, it was Esau. And now Jacob is playing favorite, and guess what? It doesn't really turn out that great either. Now, I want us to put ourselves not in Joseph's shoes tonight. I think that's really easy for us to do, is put ourselves in Joseph's shoes and kind of play that victim card pretty often. But I don't want to do that, okay? I don't want to put ourselves in Joseph's shoes. Actually, I want to put ourselves in the brothers' shoes. The other 11 brothers, okay? All of which are older than Joseph, except for 2 of them, okay? And all these siblings have fought for the attention for mom and dad, okay? I have a younger brother. We fight for the attention of mom and dad. If you are a sibling right now, I bet at some point in your life you have fought for the attention of mom and dad. Because who doesn't want to impress their mom and dad? Who doesn't want to hear from their parents, I'm proud of you? Everybody does. And I don't think that these 11 brothers were any different. I think they wanted to fight for the attention of Jacob and say, Dad, look what I can do. And he's like, yeah, but your son over there, check out that coat. That coat is dope. And just being constantly hit with that this is my favorite, this is my golden child, this is everything, this is my kid, this is everything that I want. I think it's common for us to feel that hurt. When mom and dad give that attention to somebody else, a younger brother or a sister, it stings, right? It stings. And so when Joseph, the golden child comes in and says this, he said to them in Genesis chapter 37, 6 through 11, he said to them, hear this dream I had. So he's coming to his brothers and says, hey, let me tell you about this dream I had, okay? Behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and behold, a sheaf arose and stood upright. And behold, all of your sheaves, brothers and sisters, gathered around mine that was really, really tall, and they all bowed to it. And his brother said to him, are you indeed to reign over us, or are you indeed to rule over us? And so they hated him even more for his dream and for his words. Now you think that'd be a good lesson, going, okay, Joseph, we heard your dream, that's enough. But Joseph doesn't take a hint. He comes back. It had to be another day because he had another dream, unless he took a nap, but whatever. But he comes back and says, hey guys, I had another dream. I had another dream, and told his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun and the moon, which is mom and dad, and the 11 stars were bowing to me. But when he told his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said, what is this dream? What have you dreamed? Still, shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to ourselves to the ground before you? And his brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept that saying in mind. And so when the brother's getting all the attention and tells you of a dream that all the brothers are going to bow down to you, how do you think that's going to be perceived? Not very well, right? Not very well at all. You see, in some families, when the younger brother would get a big head, the older brothers knock him down a few pegs, right? And maybe you have siblings, and maybe this is speaking into your family a little bit here. That was definitely the case in ours. Like I made sure my brother's ego was down a little bit, always, always down. But I want to make sure that he knew that he was not all that in a bag of potato chips. But this is the conversation that I think the brothers were having. Like, okay, we need to settle Joseph down before he runs crazy, telling all these people all about all his dreams, because the dreams are just going to keep on coming. And so we need to knock him down a few pegs. So maybe they had a conversation, right? And they said, hey, all right, gather around. All 11 of you, gather around. I think we need to teach him a lesson. Now every family has that crazy member of it, right? Or maybe your friend group, you have a crazy friend who, like, you say, hey, I think we should go teepee. He's like, no, you know what we should do? We should soak those things in gasoline and then light them on fire and then go teepee, right? Like, we all have that friend that takes the line right here. Here's the line, and he's crossing it by miles. And you're like, no. Like, just let him run. Like, he's fine. Let him go. I think that's what's going on here, okay? Because they're trying to kind of group together and say, okay, we need to take out Joseph. Like, we need to send Joseph a message. And then someone from the back's like, let's kill him. What? We just want to teach him a lesson, and you want to kill him? Look what it says in Genesis 37. They saw him from afar, and before he came near to him, they conspired against him to kill him. They said to one another, here comes this dreamer. Come, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. And then they will say, a fierce animal has devoured him, and we will see what will become of his dreams. Now, first off, wherever they are, apparently fierce animal attacks are very common, right? Like, oh yeah, lion was out. I saw the lion the other day. We could just say the lion ate him. Okay, never going there. Not going to be around that. But Joseph comes up to his brothers. It's like, hey, bros, let me tell you a crazy dream. Like, you guys all were gonna kill me. They're like, nervous laugh. That's not really what happened, but this is what really did happen. Genesis 37. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him. And Reuben was saying this so that he might rescue him out of their hands to restore him to his father. And so Joseph came to his brothers. They stripped off his robe, the robe of many colors that he wore, and he took him and threw him into the pit. And the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And then this is the crazy part. This is really interesting to me. They sat down to eat. So the brothers threw him into a pit, and maybe they used his coat and they put it down as a picnic blanket, and they ate together with their brother in a pit. Like, so bizarre to me. We're still reading here. Verse, I can't remember where it's at, but it's picking up where they said they sat down to eat, and looking up they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels bearing gum, balm, and myrrh, and on their way to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said to his brothers, what profit is it we kill our brother and conceal his blood? So finally some wisdom. Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother, our own flesh. So the most responsible thing to do here is to sell him. So then the brothers listened to him, and the Midianite trader passed by, and they drew Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They took Joseph to Egypt. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have siblings that have thought about selling your brother a couple times, or your sister, okay? We've all been there. But these guys actually did. Like, there was no plan in place. Like, there's like, no, let's sell him. And they did. They actually sold him. Joseph was sold to Potiphar, who was the captain of the guard of Egypt. And in this season of Joseph's life, it was anything but stable. And I'm sure in your times in your life, there has been moments where it's been anything but stable. You're wondering what the next day is going to bring. Like, how can today get any worse than where we are right now? Because you're just suffering. You're dealing with so much, and it doesn't make sense to what's happening right now, right? Oh, am I out of? Oh, pull it away a little bit. I'm sorry, guys, if that's been really, my facial hair is really long right now, but sorry about that. All right, well, hey, Genesis 39, okay? Some of you guys, we know, okay, Joseph's life is anything but stable, but here was the thing that he kept running back to. Here's the confidence that he had. Genesis 39:2, the Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. Joseph found favor with Potiphar. So Joseph came in as a slave and he found favor with his master. And Joseph would eventually run the whole entire household of Potiphar. Not bad. Not a bad deal. And so it says this in 39, 5 through 6, Genesis 39, 5 through 6. From the time that he made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian household for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was all that he had in house and field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge, and because of him, he had no concern about anything about the food that he ate. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. Now that last sentence, it's setting up a scene for trouble. It's setting up a scene here for trouble. This is what it says in the Christian Standard Bible, Psalms or Genesis 39:7. And after some time, Potiphar's wife looked longingly at Joseph and said, "Sleep with me." Wow, that's bold. That's a bold statement from his wife. But Joseph did not. He goes, no. Like, I'm not. He refuses her. Okay, he refuses her, and he refuses her in verse 8 through 9. He says, "Look," he said to the master's wife, "with me here, my master does not concern himself with anything in this house. And he has put all that he owns under my authority. No one in the house is greater than I. He has withheld nothing from me except one thing, and that's you, because you are his wife." Sounds like a good husband, right? "How could I do this immense evil? And how could I sin against God?" Pretty normal of Joseph, okay? Pretty noble. Yeah, Wesley Spillman yelling, "Run." That's right, dude. I mean, he brought up some great points. He let her down easy, like, no, like, this is not right. We're not going to do that. And that should have been that. And Joseph's life was finally getting on the, oh, wait, hold on. Verse 10. Although she spoke to Joseph day after day, coming back to be just continued to be rejected over and over again, he refused to go to bed with her. Good man, Joseph. Now one day, he went to the house to do his work, and none of the household servants were there. She grabbed him by the garments and said, "Sleep with me." But leaving his garment in her hand, he escaped and ran away. But she saw that he had left his garment with her, and she knew she had him, and had run outside. She called her house servants and said, "Look," she said to them, "my husband brought a Hebrew man to make a fool of us. He came to me so that he could sleep with me, and I screamed as loud as I could. But when he heard me screaming for help, he left his garment beside me and ran outside." And she put Joseph's garment beside her until her master came home. So Potiphar comes home. And then she says the same story to him. "The Hebrew slave which you brought home came to make a fool of me. But when I screamed for help, he left his garment beside me and ran outside." And when his master heard the story, his wife told him, "These are the things your slave did to me." He was furious, and he had him thrown into prison where the king's prisoners were confined. And so Joseph was in jail. Well, that stableness of Joseph's life didn't last for very long, did it? And so where Joseph now was back alone and abandoned, right? Like, sometimes we go through these different valleys in our life, okay? We go through these valleys, and like we start to go up this hill, right? And we start to climb up the mountain. We get to the top, we're like, all right, it's great up here. It's great. Like, this is good. Like God has seen me through. And like we trip over a root or a stump or something, and we go end up like falling like face forward, back down a mountainside, all up the mountain, and back down the mountain into another valley. And here Joseph is, right here in another alley or another valley. And I'm sure that he was angry and sad and bitter. But here it is, but God. Genesis 39:21. "But the Lord was with Joseph and extended kindness to him. He granted him favor with the prison warden." He would gain favor with the prison warden, right? The warden would put all the prisoners under Joseph's authority, who was also a prisoner. But hey, I guess that works, right? I guess that works. Whatever. But again, it's just showing again that Joseph is finding favor with this warden, with people in his life. He is finding favor with them. All is well again. And he actually got to do something that he was really good at, which was interpret dreams. The king's cupbearer and the king's baker were thrown into jail. And he's like, "Well, hey guys, how's it going today?" And they both go, "Hey, like, we're having this dream, and can you help us interpret it?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, let me hear it." And he hears the cupbearer, and he's like, "Hey, in 3 days, like, the king's going to forgive you, and you're going to be able to go up and be a cupbearer again, tasting the king's drinks for poison. So you might die someday, but not today. Like, not in 3 days. Like, you're going to be fine. You're going to go and be with him. And the baker's like, oh, man, like, tell me my dream. He's like, well, enjoy the next 3 days because you're going to die. That's virtually what he says. Like, enjoy the next 3 days because you're dead. And as the cupbearer leaves, you know, they go and execute the baker. The cupbearer leaves, and Joseph's like, hey, like, don't forget me. Do not forget me when you leave. The cupbearer's like, I got you. I got you. 2 years later, cupbearer still forgot. Until Pharaoh had a dream that he could not understand. And at this moment, he goes, oh, shoot, I was supposed to tell you something 2 years ago. There's a dude down in prison that can interpret dreams. You should go and talk to him. But don't tell him I sent you. But hey, Joseph comes and he interprets the dream for him, and there's a huge famine coming, and they need to be ready. They have like this time period where they have a great wealth, right? Great influence of wealth, so they're going to collect, and they're going to collect, and then they're going to ration everything out so they can survive a 7-year famine that's coming. That was Pharaoh's dream that Joseph interpreted. And Pharaoh was so grateful for this. He goes, you know what? You're going to oversee it all. And Joseph then climbs not only to a warden, not only to the second guy in a household, he climbs the ladder all the way up to second place in all of Egypt. That's power. That's the power that he was given. He was put in charge of everything except for Pharaoh himself. And Joseph oversees all the famine prep, all the food that's stored, and one day his brothers come into Egypt. Genesis 42. Thus the sons of Israel, sons of Jacob, come to buy among the others who came for the famine that was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was governor of the land. He was the one who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came, and check this out, dream accomplished, and bowed themselves before him with their faces to the ground. His brothers did not recognize him, and Joseph wasn't very kind at first. I mean, I don't know if we would be either. I can feel for that. And Joseph tests his brothers for a little bit. They leave, and they come back, and he reveals himself. They hug, they cry, and then the brothers were really scared, going, oh, shoot, we did not play this very well. They were glad to see him alive, but they were terrified. And Joseph got to see all his family again, and there's another valley and another mountaintop, and then dad dies. And the brothers think for sure that Joseph is going to come after them. Rightfully so, right? I mean, if you would later meet up with your brother or sister that you not only threw into a pit, tore the robe off, but then sold into slavery, how do you think they would respond? This is how Joseph responds. Genesis chapter 50, 15 through 18. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, it may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him. Which makes you think that maybe they did other evil to him besides just those other things, like besides selling him into slavery. But they sent him a message to Joseph saying, your father, Jacob, you know, the one that viewed you as his favorite, gave us this command before he died. Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgressions of your brother and their sins, because they did evil to you. And now please forgive the transgressions of your servant, of the God of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. His brothers also came and fell down before him and said, behold, we are your servants. And now here's the best part of this whole story, okay? It's coming up here. The best part of this whole story is the understanding of Joseph. To understand that he was not in control of his life. That his life was anything but stable and it was all full of chaos. But time and time again, God revealed himself. God was faithful over and over and over again. He went from telling all of his dreams and he went from that to explaining the beauty of God's plan. This is what he says in Genesis 50:19. But Joseph said to them, do not fear, for I am in the place of God. As for you, I know you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring about that many people should be kept alive as you are today. So do not fear. I'll provide for you and your little ones. Thus he confronted them and he spoke kindly to them. You see, you all meant evil for me, but God took all that evil and he meant it for good. Just like what Tanner just sang about in Sea of Victory. You take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it to good. Joseph knew this was all part of the plan. And I don't think it really hit him until he saw his brothers walking down the road in Egypt in this time of famine where he's second in charge. And he finally sees them and he goes, shoot, there they are. My brothers who sold me. And if they hadn't sold me, then there's no way I'd be here right now. It's virtually what he's saying in chapter 45. So we'll go 5 chapters back, verse 4 through 8. This is Joseph. He's revealed himself to his brothers, and he says, come near to me, please. And they came near, and they said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there's another 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant, safety on earth, and to keep alive for many survivors, so that it not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and the Lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt. That's why the story of Joseph is just so beautiful, because Joseph knew, and I don't think it was until his brothers were walking down that aisle that he's like, this is all part of the plan. This is all part of the plan. And sometimes we don't have that future vision to look at what's going on around us and go, yeah, this is God's plan. This is where I'm going. This is everything this is everything. Like everything is going on this point. And this is why it's happening. No. We have no way of knowing that. None. No way of knowing that at all. There's no way we can. And so here's the deal. I think there's a couple things that we can take away from this story, which if you want to read it, you can pretty much pick it up in Genesis chapter 37 and read all the way to the end of the book in Genesis. But a couple things I hope that we can take away from the story. Number one, God knows where you are. God knows exactly where you are tonight. Maybe you're in that valley, right? And you're just army crawling along just to get through. God knows where you are. Maybe you're on top of that mountaintop experience and going, God, I'm so grateful that you were with me all throughout the valley. God knows where you are. Maybe you're on your way down the mountain. You're getting ready to walk through some valleys. God knows where you are. And whether you're coming out of one or going into one, keep trusting God through the valleys. Keep trusting God through the valleys. It's really easy to give up when things don't go our way. It's super easy to walk out on the Lord just because it would be easier for us. It's super easy to walk away because it would just be easier to not have to believe in God. Or maybe you have to deal with the reality that bad things happen to good people and bad people. And you have to struggle with which one are you. See, many people walk away when they go through the valleys. They go, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. That's why Jesus says the path to heaven is a narrow path full of ups and downs and tree limbs down, and it's going to involve some work. It's going to involve some effort and some suffering and some pain. But hey, if you want to take the easy one, go for it. It's off this way. And the whole world is following it. But yet only a few will go to the narrow path. Everyone will pick the wide one. You want to be different? Pick the narrow. Pick the narrow one. Pick the hard one. And allow God to show you what it looks like to follow after him. Few stay on that course. So number one, God knows exactly where you are. Number two, keep trusting through the valleys. And number three, last one, is God is always in control. As Joseph was going to different places, being all over the place, all sort of chaos, thrown into jail, put in charge of stuff, forgotten, he did believe in the Lord, and he trusted him greatly. And even in the bad times, even in the times that did not make sense to Joseph, he leaned on God. And when the bad times hit in your life, may I just suggest one thing? Journal about it. I suggest journaling about it. You might not be a big writer and stuff. You don't have to be a big writer. I'm not looking for you to turn into a blogger or something like that. But what I would ask is that you write down just a couple of sentences. Maybe one. Just saying, today God answered prayer. Or today God took away mom's cancer. Or maybe mom has cancer. Like whatever that may look like, write it down. Journal about it. Because when bad times hit, and sometimes when those bad times hit, we kind of feel like we get this radio silence from God, where God's not really there for us, but as point 1 says, God knows where you are. It's us that feel like there's a wall. It's us that feels like we're not communicating very clearly to God. So in those moments, I ask you to write about it so that you can look back. So you can look back and go, wow, on January 10th, 2019, everything was terrible. I was going through a valley, but man, on February 6th, guess what? I got out of the valley because God is faithful and just, and He remembers. It doesn't have to be very many words. But the next time you go through the valley and you're alone, just know that God's with you, yes. And that timing, the time may just actually be terrible, but you can look back to something. You can look back to something and go, yeah, this might be bad right now, but it's going to get better. Even during this time that is somewhat coming to an end of COVID-19. I'm not saying that everything's great or anything like that. We're still under restrictions and things are happening, right? But what is something that God has taught you? What has God taught you? What big but God moment is coming or maybe already has come for you? Maybe you need to find out what God has said no to so that He can say yes to something else. And man, we get so upset when God says no. We get so upset when God says no. We don't ever ask the question of, maybe there's something else. Reflect on where God has placed you to be a light and to those around you. And the last question I want to leave you with tonight is, what does it look like to love people? What does it look like to love people? This week has been troubling. Not around the world, but right here, United States of America. It's been troubling. And so the biggest question I ask is, what does it look like to love people? And I think we're going to look at that next week. What does it mean to love people? Let's pray, and I'm going to kick it back over to Tanner, okay? Lord, we thank you for tonight. Lord, help us that when we're going through the valleys, that we cling to you. Help us when things don't make sense, that we cling to you and you alone. Lord, give us a heart for people. Give us a heart for all people. A heart that you have. The heart that you laid down and sacrificed for us, for all people. Lord, help us to understand, give us clarity as we continue in this walk, in this journey. Help us to lean on one another, Lord, and ultimately help us lean on to you above all else. Lord, you know where we are. Let's keep trusting in you. Lord, we love you. It's all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I want to bounce back really quick to something that Zach said. We're going to teach a new song tonight, or I'm going to teach y'all a new song tonight. That I want to hop back to the idea that Zach talked about with journaling. This song that we're going to sing is called "Still in Control." It's written by a guy named Mac Brock, who, if you guys know me enough, I like Mac Brock a lot, and I think he's very honest in his writing. In the first line, Phil, can you pull up that first slide for me? Flat out says, "How can I say it is well when my voice can barely speak?" It's just, I think when we think about this idea of journaling, we need to come being honest to God. It's just, that's a really important part, because the beautiful part of being able to look back at that journal is being to then realize, like, this was exactly what I was feeling in this moment. This isn't a watered down version of what I was feeling. This is what I was feeling. And yes, that journal is for you, but that journal is also a time for you to honestly talk to God. And for a time to go, God, I don't understand why my mom is struggling with this. God, I don't understand what is going through this. In the same way that I think that Joseph had to be thinking when he saw his brothers and stuff, and thinking, God, man, this is rough in this instant right now. But Joseph was able to say, my God is still in control. And now, so this song It's just, I invite you to just, when you catch it, to just sing it openly. Just like, if you had whatever you are feeling bound to or struck with right now, it's not fun. But Jesus didn't say it was going to be fun. It comes back to the narrow path that Zach was talking about. But this song gives us a chance to express that to God, because God wants to hear that. So I invite you to sing. How can I say it as well when my voice can barely speak? How can I sing you a song in the midst of suffering? Jesus, will you meet me here? Let your peace wash over me. 'Cause I need you now more than ever. Teach my soul to sing that my God is still in control, and still He reigns on His throne. Though mountains may tremble and sea billows roll, I'll sing it is well with my soul, 'cause my God is still in control. You have not left me alone, though the world has let me down. All of my sorrows and pain, I will trade it for a crown. And thank you for staying with me when the night was closing in. Whatever my lot, you are still God. I will sing again. My God is still in control, and still He reigns on His throne. Though mountains may tremble and sea billows roll, I'll sing it is well with my soul, 'cause my God is still in control. Whatever we're going through right now, I just invite us just to sing these simple words, this hymn that we know. And it is well with my soul, and it is well with my soul. Sing that again. It is well with my soul, and it is well with my soul. My God is still in control, and still He reigns on His throne. Though mountains may tremble and sea billows roll, I'll sing it is well with my soul. My God is still in control. Still in control, Lord.
Thanks, man. Dude, come on, son. Man, that was great. Oh, that was so good. Ah, that's so good, man. So good. Absolutely love that. Well, hey, you just graduated from college, didn't you?
I did.
Dude,
I did.
that's dope. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations for doing that. For doing that. Like, yeah. For me, thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
But hey, I had a big question for you. You were kind of just playing that last song. Like, what's one of the biggest takeaways that you took away from school? That's a little loaded question, but
A little bit. I have two.
cool. Two.
You can't just eat ramen noodles.
You can't. That's
not-
good advice for life.
It's not good for you.
It's not good
You
for you.
can't do it.
It's good.
No, but on a serious note, personal worship is so important.
Mm.
It's just, especially just thinking in light
Yeah.
of COVID and everything, it's just, frankly, I'm just going to be honest, like, this is weird for us. It's like, I'm sure, like, this isn't something like that you learned in school and stuff. This is something I learned. It's like, this is different. And this just, and especially sitting at home and stuff, it's like, I know, like, this is weird, like, for you guys. I keep forgetting that the camera's right there. There's a monitor right there, and I want to just watch myself. I'm just going to be honest.
It's 9 seconds behind, so
Yes,
it
so
does
like
no
it's
good.
even weirder
It does
that I'm
no
looking
good.
at it. But no, just on a serious note, it's hard, and it really tests your faith, and it shows your spiritual maturity. Being able to have an intimate worship time just with you and the Lord. That's where I think it's so important, and it's something that sadly I didn't kind of learn until kind of my last year. That I found myself getting to this point where I was like, God, why am I so burnt out on church right now? And I realized that I was having a lot of church, but not a lot of relationship with Jesus. And both are good. Church is great. Doing this is great. But not having an authentic relationship with Jesus, with journaling, in worshiping just with you in your room and other people, you're going to be all right for a while, but you're going to find a point where you're going to hit it.
Yeah, man.
And just that's been something that, especially right now, has been coming back, that it's just like, man, I really need to make sure that I'm keeping up with that with personal worship times and stuff. It's a really big thing. So,
Love it, man.
yeah.
Love it. That is so good, and that's so true. That's so true. Your personal worship time means everything. It means absolutely everything. And if you need help with any of that, reach out to your breakout leaders, reach out to me, reach out to Tanner, reach out to anybody who can help you get on that path of what personal worship looked like for you. And maybe you need help with journaling or whatever that may look like. Man, your leaders are there for you. They love you. They're willing to do Zoom calls for you. That's another kind of love. They're willing to sit on Zoom calls with you. That's another level of love that quite frankly, I don't think any leaders previously have had to experience. So they love you more. So there you go. Hey, we're going to take off. You guys have a great night and know that you are loved. We'll see you next week.